Hello and welcome. It's another day on Business Morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwagu. Well, the United Nations World Tourism Organization has announced that the tourism sector's losses reached $320 billion during the first 5 months of 2020, as the number of international tourists dropped by 56% due to the coronavirus pandemic. The UN body says the amount of revenue lost in January to May is more than 3 times the loss during the global economic crisis of 2009. Joining me now to talk about this and the importance of restarting tourism soon is the Director of Africa at the United Nations World Tourism Organization, Elsia Grandcourt. Thank you very much for joining us, Elsia.
Good morning, Chimze, and thank you for the opportunity.
Right. So tell me, how important is the tourism sector to global economic recovery post-COVID-19?
Indeed, as you have just mentioned in the figures you shared, it does show that tourism has a very big importance in our everyday lives. And unfortunately, with this pandemic, we've seen this drastic fall in terms of arrival figures internationally, globally, but specifically for the Africa region, we have seen that compared to last year, 2019, we are now today at a minus 47%. For a region that was showing a positive growth, this is a very dramatic fall. And as you know, this dramatic fall and with the importance of tourism, this is impacting heavily on livelihoods, on jobs. And that is why it is very important now to look at restarting tourism, but as we see it safe to do so, have the proper measures in place, the different protocols, because as our Secretary General has been discussing with different governments, with other UN agencies, with other private sector stakeholders, there are 2 things that must be taken into consideration at this point. It's looking at the public health situation, putting emphasis on this, but whilst at the same time also protecting jobs and businesses.
Now, can you quantify how much African countries' tourism sector may have lost to this pandemic?
I mean, as I mentioned, the loss in international tourism right now, in terms of arrivals, we are at a minus 47%. But in terms of the real figures, it keeps changing because, of course, we've seen a loss in terms of flights have stopped. Hotels are not really into business, and all the services has been affected. The impact has been very huge all around, not only for the Africa region, but as you know, globally, because this is a global pandemic. It's not just related to our region.
Now, what is the level of Africa's preparedness to get tourism going?
I believe every country has been putting a lot of effort since the beginning of this pandemic, first to mitigate this virus, and secondly, now that this situation has shifted and we are seeing that the borders are slowly reopening, the focus of the countries is now going towards putting the safety measures in place, the health protocols, in order to be able to open the borders gradually and welcome the visitors.
Now, as countries gradually open up, how best can tourism restart, in the midst of the pandemic?
Well, the borders will have to be open gradually based on several factors, as you know, related to flights, related to the different protocols being in place. But I think primarily, and what our experts have also been sharing, is that a long-haul international travel will take a while to be reestablished. So that is why a majority of countries are focusing their attention on first domestic tourism and then moving to intra-regional tourism within the continent. But definitely the protocols, the health protocols have to be put in place from the point of arrival all the way through the different services on the ground, and also to be able to reinstate and reestablish the confidence confidence to the tourist, it's very important for countries to keep on working on these measures based on the guidelines that we have issued, as well as WHO and ICAO.
Now, what major challenges do you foresee for African countries in trying to restart tourism?
I mean, the challenges all around would be the fact that it would take a while to reinstate the long haul. So the focus has, as many countries have considered, is to put it on domestic tourism. The challenges that will be there is, of course, being able to have the right setup in terms of the health and safety protocols in place, rebuilding the confidence, because this is key. I mean, if somebody is coming to visit you, they want to be assured that there are the protocols in place. And if any eventuality will happen, if there is a surge, if there is any issue that will happen to the person, they will feel confident that the country is prepared and geared up to be able to either work on the repatriation if there is a need to be, or if they need to be taken care of. So I think these are very key. That is why we say the emphasis is to be put on the health and safety protocols.
So how does the UNWTO hope to support its member countries to restart tourism?
Our Secretary General has been, from the beginning of this pandemic, working very closely in close collaboration with the different member states, the African member states, also international organizations, other UN agencies, and very importantly, the private sector. They have been discussing, and that is why at the beginning we started off with a set of recommendations. And today we've issued some global guidelines that members are using it to base their own protocols that they are establishing at home. But at the same time, since a big part of our work is focused on technical support to our member states, we've launched what we call a technical support package, which is centered around 3 pillars. It's the economic recovery, the marketing and promotion aspect of it, and strengthening the institutional relations. This is very key because you need to continue to collaborate. We need to continue to stand in solidarity with each other and learn from each other. Countries should keep on talking to each other to learn the best practices and also to be able to start the tourism. So with these guidelines, we have seen countries that have already established their own health protocols, and they're using this as the basis to shape the different safety measures that they are putting in place, including Nigeria, because several countries, including Nigeria, they have set up high-level committees, which include different government ministries, to be able to work around tackling all the issues associated with this pandemic.
Now, talking about Nigeria specifically, what do you make of Nigeria's tourism sector?
I think Nigeria has a very vibrant sector in terms of that you have a lot of attributes. You have the beach, you have the wildlife, you have the culture, the gastronomy. But there we see that it's a sector that has not fully maximized the potential that is there. And also in part related to the statistics. We think that a big part of that has been underreported, and that is why when we worked with the Ministry of Tourism Master Plan, this is one of the key aspects that came out. And 2 years ago, when we did our commission meeting in Nigeria, we ran parallelly a workshop on statistics, on data collection, and this is the approach we've been taking with the ministry in terms of helping also with Nigeria's tourism, ensure that the figures are captured in order to be able to help to make strategic plans going forward.
Now, aside from COVID-19, Nigeria is saddled with a fall in oil price, which is its main foreign exchange earner. Now, do you think Nigeria's tourism sector has got the potentials to earn the country enough foreign exchange?
what I mentioned, Nigeria is a country that is endowed with several positive factors that is very important, the development of tourism. You have a huge creative industry that is very vibrant and well known. You have all the natural attributes, the different parks, the wildlife. So obviously there is the potential there that can be tapped into. And we've seen countries that are now moving away from the natural resources because they also have identified tourism as a source of economic development. And Nigeria can be one of these countries that also look to tourism and continue to develop in order to maximize the potential that this sector can bring to the country.
Now, for you, how best can Nigeria take this advantage of its tourism sector to grow its economy?
I think all the elements are there. It's a matter of, first of all, getting all the stakeholders around the table, which the ministry works in this direction, working with all the different line ministries, working with the private sector, in order to be able to map out. Because as I mentioned earlier, we worked on a tourism master plan. Master plan, as you know, is there to give the guidance on the specific areas that the country can prioritize in order to continue the development of the tourism sector. Maybe now with the arrival of COVID would be a good time also to relook at master plan, because the priorities obviously have shifted as everywhere else, so that then we can have clear guidance on the priorities following this pandemic of where Nigeria should put the focus in order to be able to further develop its tourism sector.
Now, are there countries in Africa Nigeria can actually emulate when it comes to tourism development, probably the strategies perhaps those countries are putting in place to develop their strategy, their tourism? We have Kenya, we have Egypt, we have South Africa. Are there lessons for Nigeria to learn from these countries?
Absolutely. There are always lessons to be learned. There's no one size fits all. Of course, when Nigeria would look at all, and we do this with our members, sometimes we share the best practices, as I mentioned earlier, because the countries have to look at their own specificities. There is something probably that Kenya is doing that doesn't necessarily adapt to Nigeria, but in all of this, Nigeria can learn from what these countries are doing, as other countries can also learn. It's a two-way thing that we can all learn from each other. But at the end of the day, we have to adapt it to our own specificity. And Nigeria is no different than any of the other countries.
All right. Generally, what is the way forward for the world tourism industry?
Well, what the key message that is out, especially and strongly supported by our Secretary General, is to continue to collaborate, to stand in solidarity, because we do have to restart the sector, but we also have to do it in a responsible way. We have to ensure that the right health protocols are in place. And these protocols, by the way, have to continuously be reviewed and updated, because as we've seen, this pandemic, there's still a lot of unknown about this virus. It's still evolving. So we have to adapt, because on the one part, whilst we wait for a solution, health, either be it with a vaccine or other, we have also to continue with the business, because the damage that has been done globally and also to our region is very dramatic. And as you know, if we don't restart tourism, we will still be stuck where we are. So that's why we say restart, but in a responsible, safe manner, so that at least we can sort of see some rebound with the tourism across the world.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Elsia. Elsia Grandcourt is the Director of Africa at the United Nations World Tourism Organization. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chimpi. Thank you.